I just want to start with a quick apology if this video comes across as a little rough around the edges. I've been working on a much lengthier project, a retrospective on a watch that goes into a lot more detail than my usual videos, and it's taken me a very long time to put together. I wanted to get something out on the channel in the interim, but I've not had as much time as I would normally take on this. Not only that, but my Adobe Animate file corrupted, and I've not had the time to remake the animation, hence the little AI cop-out this time around. I'll throw a second apology out there too if there's a bit more of a gap between this video and me finally getting the big project released. Never mind all that though, it's not what you came here for. Let's get into the video. Our focus on this episode of Keep or Sell is the Addiesdive Deep Sea Hunter. Specifically, this is the AD2030. We'll start with a short history of the company. Officially, Addiesdive is owned by a company registered as Shenzhen Addies Technology Company Limited, which trademarked its logo in 2019. It's headquartered in Shenzhen, which is odd when the sister brand Addiesdive, owned by the same man, Cheng Tianbao, is headquartered in Guangdong. Addiesdive was registered in 2021 and Addiesdive back in 2018, before the parent company. It's quite a confusing mix of names and dates that no amount of internet research can really seem to penetrate. I can only speculate that this is in part an issue with translation and in part a way of obscuring the real scale of the company's operations. Basically, I think it's a way of making them seem bigger than they are. What we can glean from the products on offer is that Addiesdive is the cheaper alternative to Addiesdive, with budget models and quartz options available. The Addiesdive range is not exactly expensive to begin with, so we are talking about a very affordable brand here. If it weren't obvious from the names of the cities involved, this is a Chinese brand available on their own website and via AliExpress. And I know straight away that'll be enough to put some people off. But I'm a sucker for any kind of texture on a dial, so like a moth to a flame, I thought I'd give this a chance. As far as an unboxing experience goes, it was a lot more than I was expecting from the price point. It's not grand or flashy, but it is at least something that's potentially useful after you've unboxed it. Now let's talk more about that price point. The truth is it varies pretty significantly depending on which AliExpress store you order it from and which sale you buy it during. Certainly, my experience was that AliExpress was, if nothing else, cheaper than reselling sites like eBay for a watch like this. Another alternative would be the Addiesdive official store, where you can get a voucher as a first-time buyer. I paid just over £35 for this watch during the Chinese New Year sale, so as you can see, it's very inexpensive. So what do you get for your money? Well, the specifications are not bad at all for the low price point. You're getting 316L stainless steel across all of the case and the clasp, and the bracelet is registered as stainless steel too. The glass is domed mineral crystal with what is described as anti-dazzling blue film. So it's nothing that massively stands out, but at the same time you could be paying a lot more money and getting exactly the same materials elsewhere. Now while those specifications do sound quite impressive for the cost, the actual quality and execution is not incredible. I've seen a few YouTube videos really hyping up this watch, and I've got to be honest, I don't agree with them. The finishing on the watch is not great, particularly the bracelet, which I have to say is one of the most unpleasant experiences I've had in recent memory with a watch. There's no other way of describing it, it's flat out uncomfortable on wrist. Googling the issue will point to a number of posts on various sites explaining how to fix the problem, with polishing, scouring, filing, and none of these are things that I would expect to have to do on a brand new product, no matter how expensive it was. Not only that, but the clasp catches, is flimsy and poorly fitted. The bracelet also has a fair amount of rattle to it. Now, the thing is, you do get what you pay for, but the truth is you'd get more functionality, a lower price point, better build quality, and more comfort on wrist, plus a 2-year warranty if you just went and bought a Casio. The issue doesn't end at the bracelet. The edges of the lugs are sharp and abrasive. The etching has an odd texture to it, which really isn't nice against your skin and can tear hairs from your arm. It's quite difficult to explain the feeling, but needless to say, it isn't a remotely pleasant wearing experience. You'd also get significantly brand recognition for buying a Casio too. Addiesdive actually offer unbranded versions of some of their models that they label their sterile range. Unbranded models which are considering the demands from customers. To be fair, I can see why. The branding for Addiesdive is not particularly popular. It's too large and the logo design is really quite ungainly, so featuring it in various places across the watch is not exactly a positive in my opinion. In terms of timekeeping, I haven't noticed any significant deviations from the movement, which is a reliable Seiko VH31 quartz. Now it's worth noting that there is quite a similar automatic watch from Addiesdive, the AD2130, which comes with a cracked effect across the dial in two of the same colourways. It has an NH35 movement from Seiko, it's a little more expensive, larger at 39mm but has a Jubilee bracelet and a blued second hand. For me personally, I've started to trend towards smaller and smaller watches, so this isn't something that I consider. But if you like the look of this watch, it's definitely something worth considering if 36mm simply isn't big enough for you. Now let's get on to the unique selling point of the watch, that dial. Is it worth the potential risk of needing to do some work on the bracelet? Now some have touted this as a bargain Grand Seiko alternative, and to that I have to be honest, I'd say absolutely not. For the price point, I've got no complaints at all. It is interesting, and it comes in 3 different colourways, and it's much better executed than you might expect for this low price point. However, bargain Grand Seiko is several steps too far, and I think you'd genuinely be quite disappointed if you went into purchasing a Deep Sea Hunter with that expectation. Now, I think that accolade would be better suited to the GMT models from San Martin. While they are magnitudes more expensive than this, the difference in quality is also going to be painfully clear. Those with more to spend and a desire for a recognised brand should look towards the silver lacquer dials from Citizen. Those are truly impressive. Personally, on my wish list, the washi dials from Citizen are another really impressive offering. Expensive, but well worth considering if you can't stretch to the tens of thousands required for some Grand Seiko models. Obviously, this is all worlds away from the Deep Sea Hunter, but I just think the price point here is too low to expect, or indeed to get, a dial that's truly captivating in terms of its use of texture. I think this is definitely a watch where you're going to need to buy an alternative strap. And with the white or blue dial variants, I think a rubber or NATO strap could go some way to transforming this into something a little more fun. I don't think anyone could put up with a standard bracelet for a long period of time without either considerable adjustment or replacement. And for most people, that won't come for free, so something else to consider when looking at that price point. The issue here is that with a 19mm lug width, there aren't going to be as many strap options available as for more common sizes like 18 or 20mm. Something else to bear in mind is that as a formal dress watch, you're not getting any kind of loom here. But at least the dimensions are pretty solid. 36mm is a great size, and although it's advertised at 12mm thick, my measurements actually bring it in at 11, which is not bad at all when you consider the aesthetic of the dome crystal, which is actually accounting for 2 to 3mm of that total thickness. Now with that in mind, I do think that the other colour variants of the dial might be better alternatives. The sand coloured version feels like the dial would thematically fit much better with a more rugged watch design and aesthetic, whereas the blue and white variants at least have a bit more of a summer or beach vibe to them. In the end, you get what you pay for. The materials, movement and dial you're getting are impressive for the price, but the build quality simply isn't. There are genuinely high quality watches available for sale on AliExpress, at least comparatively so, and this is just not one of them. I'm not sure I could really suggest that this would make for a good holiday watch or a beater either, given the formal case style. A field watch, diver or even a digital watch would make a lot more sense for that kind of application. Certainly, this is also not going to fool anyone in terms of looking impressive in a formal setting. So I think it's quite hard to find a particular use case scenario for this watch. Now if I'm honest, when I first put the watch on, my genuine first reaction was, this might be the first watch I don't keep. On top of that gut feeling, it isn't offering anything unique to my collection unfortunately. So this is going to hold the dubious honour of being the first watch in this series that's going to fall into the sell category. The truth is, it just isn't that pleasant a watch to wear. So what do you think of the Deep Sea Hunter? Would this be something that you consider adding to your collection? As always, thanks for your time and I hope you've enjoyed the video. My apologies again if there's a bit more of a gap until the next one, but when it's released I'm hopeful you'll understand why it's taken me so long to put together. I hope you'll stick around for that, and if you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more.